Stewart! Yes! And surely that's the goal!
Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of Sensible Sunderland. You join us after the lads finally got back to winning ways after an absolutely Baltic game at the Stadium of Light yesterday, running out 2-1 winners against Stoke City. I'm Anth, and this week I'm joined by our very own Luke 09, Mr. Reliable himself, Mark, and I'm delighted to say we've got Lee back. Feels like a while since we've had him on the podcast. Where have you been?
Well, according to you, I've been in a Thailand prison. The Child Protective Services have been round. It's
That's
been
true.
Yeah, there's been a lot of slander against you really in the last couple of weeks. Although, is it slander if it's true? I don't know how that works. I'm not a lawyer, but
just wait to see the note that coming through your door where I've sued you all for it.
Me subpoena. I just feel like, well, I feel like last time we were on this podcast, we were in League One. That's how long ago it feels.
I'm pretty sure the last time I was on this podcast, we'd won. So it's probably been about 6 weeks.
Maybe you're onto something there. Maybe it's you. Maybe you're the good luck. I mean, you will all notice that Dan is suspiciously absent again. I'm sorry to have to break the news to you. He has been seized by the Thailand authorities. They didn't even have to try this time. They just left a primary school gate open and put a net above it. He false time. Fourth time second. How are you though? How are you, Mark, as well? I feel like I've brushed over you in that little intro there. How are you doing?
No, I didn't hear you, mate. I'm all right.
Good. Like, I knew you would be. I was like, Mark will be all right. He doesn't need anything. I must say, I've got a very bad head this morning. I went straight out after the match and I left the house yesterday at about 9 o'clock anyway to get to the match. So if you think I sound like I'd rather be anywhere else, you're 100% right. But before we get in the match, actually, have you got any good hangover cures?
Diarrhea tablets. Like the ones you take when you've got diarrhea, not to give you diarrhea.
All right. I was thinking that. I was like, you're being very vague about that.
They're full of salts and sugars and that. So
all right. I was going to say it'll be me later on. Go, like, Mark, my head still hurts, but I'm just pooing all the time now. That's all that's happened there.
Don't go around and wipe your bum for you.
Can't even wipe his own, that lad. I'm letting him touch mine. What were your general thoughts on yesterday, though? I think we all needed that win, didn't we? So, what did you think?
So it was good performance, wasn't it? It was controlled large parts of the game. Stoke were dangerous on the counter, or sort of, they did have a proper attacking threat. The conditions obviously didn't help us defensively, but generally good. I must admit, when it got to sort of 75 minutes, I thought it was another typical Sunderland performance of the last 6 weeks where we're just going to get a draw out of it. But generally decent. Looked really dangerous. Created so many chances. Should have been, not testing the grips, and that should have been 5-1 at half time, or possibly 2-1 to Stoke. So it was a weird game, but fully deserved to win it, and over the moon we go over the line in the end.
Yeah, I think it was just a really battling performance, and to be honest, even with the conditions, I thought we put on a hell of a performance. And like Mark said, we should have been out of sight. We really, like you say, you think about the chances that we had, we should have been probably in double figures by the end of the game.
Yeah, like it wasn't pretty. That could have been like a massive hindrance, especially like the way we play football as well. Obviously, with that wind, it was absolutely horrendous. Like, obviously, it wasn't about the performance yesterday. It was all about maybe getting back to winning ways. Obviously, it was still a good performance because, like as you both said, I agree with you. We dominated and we probably should have won by more. But as the game went on, I kind of started to think, oh, it's going to be another one of them days. And especially when we had that goal disallowed, I was like, oh, no, it's going to be another one of them days. But the conditions, like, I don't want to like overdo it here, but I genuinely think that's the coldest I've ever been at a football match in my life. I know that's going to sound pretty woke. Like, there's probably people listening to this now thinking like, well, I used to stand on the full end with these shoes on. But that for me was like absolutely horrendous. Like, I couldn't think. I had constant brain freeze throughout the entire game.
I honestly think the Stadium Light's the coldest place on earth. Like, as soon as the winter hits out, honestly, it's horrendous.
Near Dalton Park.
Oh, now it's the wind tunnel, that fucking place. Everyone says the same thing. Oh, wind tunnel, that place.
Wind tunnel.
Do you think yesterday though? Do you think we did anything different, or do you think it was just a case of like we persevered and we got our rewards this week, whereas other weeks we didn't quite get that look of the green?
No, I think we did exactly the same as we have done over the last few weeks. It was just that goal, wasn't it? It was just that bit of that clinical finishing. Tommy Watson obviously delivered it yesterday, but generally I thought, that we said last week that just grind it out, just continue doing exactly what we're doing, and the results will come. And I think that's what we did yesterday. Mind you, it was getting close. I think it was 86 minutes to go,
Yeah,
so it was
Something like that.
it was close to another draw, but again, fully deserved a win, and hopefully the lads' confidence are it's through the roof now, and we'll go on a bit of a run.
I wouldn't say we did anything different, but our chance creation was much, much better yesterday. But it was just a lack of, like Mark said, being clinical. Isidore could have had two or three. Even Watson could have had, but he hit the post and forced a couple of good saves. I think he blazed one over the bar. So I think it was where we created chances, and whether that was Stoke's defence or us actually doing something, it remains to be seen. We'll find out in Bristol City. But yeah, I just thought our chance creation was far, far better last night. Yeah, last night, yesterday morning even.
yeah. We think like we've all said it. I think like the key to our success is obviously like our wingers, and I think when they're both on it, obviously we'll get onto them specifically later on. But obviously Tommy Watson, class, and much improved from Paddy Roberts as well. But we'll get onto that later on. But the start was a bit dodgy. I mean, obviously we've spoke about the wind and the weather in general. What did you make of the goal though? Because in like their goal, because in real time, like I thought Alessi gets caught ball watching, and he doesn't really do enough to get back. And then I thought the rebound, haven't seen it back. I thought maybe Patson was poor, but it's a decent finish from who was it? Kumas. But I've seen a few people also mention was he offside? I didn't notice that in real time, but do you think he was?
I don't know,
No,
I haven't seen an angle. I haven't seen a proper angle. I don't think the camera's caught an
good
angle that you
angle.
can actually gauge it or not, because just poor coverage of it really. But regardless, I think at least he does get caught, doesn't he? It
Yeah.
might be marginally offside, but at least he gets caught. I thought he had a mixed game yesterday, but and I don't know about the goal. I don't know about the Pato. I thought could have probably done a little bit better on that second attempt. It was like a weak chip on it, and he's just sort of
Mhm.
just sitting on the floor pretty much. But it didn't matter in the end, like. But that was a strange goal to concede.
Yeah, he does look a tidy player, that Lewis Kumas. Like,
I
I
was thinking that,
realised, yeah,
I
I
was thinking
realised
that.
halfway through it's Jason Kumas's son. Remember
Oh,
him?
yeah,
He used to play for West Brom and
yeah.
that.
He's on loan from Liverpool, isn't he? I was thinking if
Yeah.
he fancies a stint at the top of the league in the second half of the season, it might be worth trying to get him in.
But to be fair, Jason Kumas used to always score against us as well. So it's very
It's
worrying to
fitting.
know that the kind of skill of players always scoring against Sunderland can actually be passed down from generation to generation. So that doesn't bode well for us like going forward. I mean, we didn't have to wait long for a response, did we? I mean, I'm pleased we got it when we did. It was like what 40 seconds, was it? Tommy Watson, Easington's finest, aside from us, producing the goods. He was class last Friday. We all said that against Sheffield United. So it's promising to see that it wasn't just like a one-off and he managed to maintain that level of performance, really. Just going to play devil's advocate a bit here. It was a decent finish, but the keeper was very flat-footed. Should he be saving that, or do you think it was we should give more credit to Tommy Watson?
I just think, like you say, he's surrounded by what I think is five Stoke players actually come around him at one point. Um, and then he just gets a shot away, and I just think it catches the keeper off guard because he's
Yeah.
just not expecting it. With the amount of bodies around him. So, like I say, for me, fair play to Tommy Watson because he hits it and then obviously finds its way into the bottom corner.
It's one of those, isn't it, where they normally curl it at the far post. That like the
Mm.
way it's shaping up, so obviously it changes at the last second, don't it, to go near post. So, not good finish.
Yeah, I think it's just maybe the way it looks because the keeper, obviously, he is, as you say, Lee, he is caught out. He's very flat-footed. So to watch it, like if Pato had conceded that, I would have been annoyed, I think. But not taking anything away from Tommy Watson because, like you say, he's the one who's reacted and kind of caught the keeper out by being so clever. But I mean, we absolutely dominated that first half. After that as well, it was all Sunderland. And like Mark said, could have gone in 4 or 5-1 up. or also 2-1 down, as you said. What was their chance? I can't remember their other chance. Like,
It was a Joe. It was a cracking save from Pato. Actually, the ball
Aye.
Tom Cannon in the box, and he should have scored. Pato got his foot on it, and then it sort of rolled across the line, sort of thing. And I can't remember. I think it was one of their defenders. Basically,
yes,
kicked it into the side net.
yes, I remember that now. I remember that.
They should have scored, like, but it was a great save from Pato.
Yeah, it was close range and all. When it, like I say, it was similar to the Sheffield United one that we conceded, but this time he saved it and he's pushed it out. And how on earth that Stoke player never scored, I'll never know.
Second half, though, I mean, a little bit more of an even game. I thought. I thought we still shaded it in terms of chances, but I thought Stoke looked more of a threat, especially on the break. Obviously, we mentioned Kumas, but you had the lad on the other wing as well, Junho, I think it was. I thought both of them looked quite tidy, like.
Either were decent. They did look dangerous on the break, and Tom Cannon's a decent striker. I think we tried to get him, didn't we, in the summer? But
Yeah,
that was a wee defensive performance. I've always thought we looked quite solid. I was generally quite content with the defence, but I thought we looked a little bit shaky yesterday, and I don't know if it was just changing tactic, maybe being a bit more attacking, or the weather, or a bit of both. But yeah, it was we could have conceded a lot more goals yesterday, I think.
Like I say, I don't know what it was. Maybe it was even nerves because, like I say,
mhm.
the kind of shell shocked us with that goal. So I don't know whether it was just a bit of nerves, like I say, the weather conditions or whatever it was. But all of them seemed a bit like on edge. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
everybody seemed to make a mistake. So it was lucky that we didn't concede from those mistakes. We managed to get back and cover.
I didn't really notice anything in terms of the defence looking a bit more fragile until the end. But I don't know whether that's just because like the psychology of like, oh, you're defending a lead, like it's the last minute sort of thing. But no, I thought it was pretty solid. I thought obviously O'Nien and Ballard, like I think they're pretty solid together now, aren't they? So I think both of them played really well. But I thought as the game went on in general, obviously you start to think like it's going to be same as West Brom and wherever else where we've had chances. We even had the ball in the net, obviously with Sador, and that got disallowed. Tommy Watson puts one over the bar from that pullback, which he really should have scored. Um, but obviously he got his goal, 5 minutes to go. Gets a bit of a deflection with the goal, but you can't take that away from him. The thing I was most buzzing about from that second goal was just nice to see Paddy Roberts get an assist because, like I say, he was much improved yesterday, I thought.
He had a good game yesterday, and don't like. I know we've been harsh on Paddy Roberts, but it's because he's capable of so much more. Like, I'm not angry with Paddy Roberts. I'm just disappointed with him. It's that sort of feeling. You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
because it's like there's just so much more there. Like he could be like
Yeah,
the best player in the
No, you're
league if
right.
he wanted to. And no, but in fairness, he had a good game yesterday, and I'm pleased to just see him get another number on the board because that's what we need from him.
what do you think it maybe was yesterday to kind of bring him out of his slumber a bit? Because he was, I think he was a lot more direct on the ball as well. Like he got a shot off early doors, obviously didn't go in. Probably should be doing better, but we've spoke about his end product. But what do you think it was? Do you reckon maybe there's been words had in training, or
I think it was more the fact. I mean, this is just what I noticed is he wasn't constantly cutting in on his left. Like there was a couple of times he took it to the byline and then got a ball in. And then I remember there's one where he dribbles past a couple of players, goes to cut in, and then again hits the byline and puts a good ball across. So I don't know whether he just had that different side to it where he was confusing his defenders because everybody was just expecting him to cut in, and it made for
yeah,
a different game completely for Paddy.
He did mix it up a bit more, and I think like looking back on it, I've probably mentioned it earlier, but I think the tactics were slightly different. I do think we were committing more players forward.
Mm.
So maybe that helped him a little bit as well. So I think Riggy was helping him out on that right hand side. Try Hume was, and then for the goal, Tommy Watson cuts right across, and it just supports him a bit. So it just probably takes players away from him as much as anything. So he's got a bit of space. But really good performance. And in fairness to him, he could have had another assist as well if Tommy Watson didn't put that one over the bar.
Yeah.
yeah, true. I'm pleased to say we hung on though. Stoke, as kind of as much as we say they were decent on the break, they didn't really have any clear cut chances, I don't think. Obviously they're going to do what all teams do and like just pump balls into the box, which causes chaos and nerves and whatever towards the end. But there was only really that it was a weak header really won it that Pato
Mm.
saved in like the last minute. So he just kind of collected it. But obviously, like the way I look is, I could have seen that nestled in the far corner. Like I was like, oh no, it's in.
What concerned me more was Bellingham like just riding tackles for like 4 or 5 times and then nearly losing the
Yeah,
ball, but then re-getting it. And I was like, he's going to give
yeah.
me a heart attack.
Yeah, where there was literally a point where he ran right across like the width
Aye,
of the,
just
of the
horizontally.
midfield. But to be
They
fair,
turned back
that was,
round.
yeah, that was the one he kept. But then, like a couple of minutes later, he tried to do the exact same thing again. He gave it away, and I was just like, "Oh no, man!" But I mean, as we said at the start, it wasn't about the performance yesterday for me, although it was a good one. It was just about kind of winning the game, getting back to winning ways, keeping the spirits up, like keeping the pace with the teams above us. Especially in games like that where like it is going to be a hindrance with the weather and what have you. What we'll do now, we'll just go through each player, and I just want you to
Yeah.
tell us how you think they fared. So we'll start with Pato. I don't think there's a lot you can say, but what did you think?
A steady game on it, and obviously, I don't want to be too harsh on for the goal. It was sort of let that one go, but the save from Tom Cannon I thought was class. So made his performance and better with his feet as well.
Mm.
Yeah.
But for me, like Mark said, I'm not going to be overly critical on him. He possibly could have done better for the goal. He might have been able to push the first one out wide. I don't know, but like I say, he's kicking far improved, and like I say, that one just before half time, great save. So can't complain at all, really.
Do you know what he's really terrible for? Like I know all like keepers do it, but I hate it. You know where they do that thing where they've got the ball at the feet and they wait for the centre forward to come to them and then they slowly pick it up.
Aye.
He does that all the time, and it absolutely my heart in my mouth every time. Yesterday he did it, and all I heard was a shout from behind us, "Pick it up, man, you fat cunt!" Proper made us chuckle like. He did nearly get caught though. There was a point you remember where he went to just like obviously kick the ball out of his hands, and it kind of hit the Stoke.
Aye,
Stoke centre forward.
Tom Cannon went it.
Tom Cannon, aye. But to be fair, like watching it, I was like, well, he's Patton's being stupid there. Like I always think the centre forward, if the keeper does that, is in his right to go for the ball. So I thought the referee done us a favour. Like
No, it was he kicked it out with his hands, man. So when
Yeah.
like it was like throwing it up there to launch it,
mhm.
He gets in the
Tom
way.
Cannon kicked it just before Pato was about to kick it.
Oh
And
right, so it wasn't like because I thought the rule was
No,
right.
no, it
Okay,
wasn't.
that's fair
No, it
enough.
wasn't like it didn't hit him. He kicked it out of Pato's hands, sort of
All
thing.
right, yeah, can't do that. Can't be doing that, Tom. But Alessi, next one. How do we think? I know, Mark. I think you said he didn't.
Uh,
You thought he had a bit of a mixed game yesterday.
it was mixed. I think it cements, not that it needed cementing, but cements the fact that Dennis Certon's our number one left back. At least I mean, you said it, didn't he? He is more of a centre back, and I do see that. I think that's where he'll be used going forward. But he's good cover. But yeah, mixed performance yesterday. Big place to get Certon back in.
I thought after the goal, he actually did quite well. And going forward, I thought he was really good, to be honest with you. He definitely helped Watson out on that left-hand side. And there was a couple of times he did quite a few overlapping runs and got a cross into the box. So I like to see, I think you can forgive him for the goal because he's just caught out. But overall, I thought he had quite a good game, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with both of those, really. Lovely Luke.
Aye, solid, decent. No, he's
Solid.
just typical Luke.
Like you say, what more can you say about him? Like you're going to get a performance out of him every week. He might
Yeah.
make the odd mistake. Obviously, he did against Sheffield United, but for me, there's 110% given.
Next up, we've got Dan Ballard.
That's solid. I thought.
Again, aye.
Yeah, I thought he had he really like relished that battle with Tom Cannon. Like you saw him like tracking him across the pitch and stuff, putting some tackles in. But yeah, thought he was solid and kept him quiet for the most part.
There was one dodging moment on it where the wind sort of there was a bit of spin on the ball, and I think the wind caught it. He was lucky to get away with that one, but other than that, solid.
Next up, we've got Trey Hume.
Pretty solid. Pretty solid. I think he offered a little bit more going forward. Like I said, looking at it now, I do think we changed tactics a little bit and we're overcommitting a little bit going forward because there was one moment in particular where he was well out of position. It didn't come around anything in the end, but other than that, I think it was really good. Solid performance as usual.
I'm getting the general consensus here that the performance yesterday was just really solid. I think every player he's just gone, aye, can he solid, aye, can he good, aye. 7 out of 10.
So, our tactical insight.
Dan Neil.
Really good game yesterday. I think he was a lot more aggressive, both on and off the ball. He got forward a bit more. Put a hell of a tackle in as well, tracking back. So much improved performance from him yesterday.
Yeah, that tackle was it was great. Like just pinched the ball, left his man on the deck, and just picked it up and started running with it again, pass it off. Just a much better performance from him, and it was something that we would have seen last season, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I think that ties back into what you were saying yesterday, just with us being a lot more attack minded in general. And I think we've all said the problem with Dan Neil is the fact he's playing a lot deeper. So the fact he was given that license to kind of roam forward, and that I think made the difference with his performance yesterday. But yeah, much improved. It was one of those where you kind of didn't realise it during the game, and then I was thinking about it afterwards. I was like, actually, that probably was his best game for several weeks. We spoke about Job, obviously, heart in our mouth moment at the end, but again, I thought he was superb as well, mind.
Yeah, it's just a monster, isn't he? Absolute monster.
I thought he flagged at the end. Like I say, that when he was carrying that ball horizontally across the field, I thought he looked like he was running through treacle. Like I say, I just think he was out on his feet, and obviously it must have been a difficult performance with the conditions and that we keep mentioning. But like I say, thought he was great up until that point when I could have like shot him in the back of the head.
Bit extreme, that like taking him out and killing him for it. Paddy Roberts.
I've already mentioned he was the best game for a while.
The only thing I want to see from Paddy Roberts now, right, is just to like get a shot on target. Just that's all I want to see him now. I think once he gets that, he might find his shooting boots, but he just needs to get one on target.
Yeah,
I heard yesterday, I heard a stat that it's been 18 months since he scored a goal from open play.
That's
never.
Like I don't know. I don't know how correct it is. It was on the highlights I watched back, but 18 months since he scored from open play, and obviously I think one goal and a couple of goals maybe in that time, but won this season, which was a penalty.
Who was that against them? That would have been was that not the Watford one?
I don't know. It's that long ago.
If it is, Jesus. But no, I think the same. Like I think he just needs that one goal, and it is coming, and it will be like a typical kind of Paddy Roberts cutting in, bends it in the top corner. That's what it'll be. It'll be an absolute scream, and I think once he gets that, the pressure will be off, and we'll just see him play a more relaxed game, just generally. Man of the match for me, Tommy Watson. What did you think?
Without a doubt, man of the match, brilliant, absolutely class. Unbelievable performance from an 18-year-old, absolutely class.
Like you say, he could have 3 or 4. Like you say, he missed the one where he blazed it over the bar and he hit the post. Like I think Johansson saved one as well. So for me, he's come into that role and he's just improved week by week.
I haven't spoken about. I thought I was missing someone here. We haven't got Chris Rigg.
Riggy.
I was thinking that I was counting these players. I was going, there's only 10 players there. Chris Rigg.
Had a good game. Should have scored as well. He fluffed his volley, didn't he, in the first half? But he was really good, but probably should have scored.
Yeah, just tenacious, battled it out all day. Played some good passes, and like I say, probably should have scored, but it's probably a difficult chance on the whole of it. So yeah, can't complain at all.
And lastly, I think we've got Wilson Isidore.
It's a poor game from yesterday. I thought he didn't have I just didn't really take any of his chances. Should have scored at least one, I think. Just couldn't really get into the game. I think wasn't much service up to him. And when there was, I don't think he was just sort of out of position a little bit. So again, we know he's raw. He's gonna improve. But I know his best game yesterday.
I think he's one of these, he always seems to try and take his chance early, which sometimes is good because, like we obviously saw with the Tommy Watson goal, like and catch the keeper out. But there's times where I just think if you just maybe take that extra second, just compose yourself. Like he had that one in the first half where like the ball was played through, I think from Alessi, and he like kind of hatched at it and it went like past the side netting. But you're just thinking like if you just maybe take an extra second there, just like compose yourself. That hits the back of the net every day.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I thought, for the first 10, 15 minutes, I don't think he had a touch, and then he found himself in a couple of scoring opportunities, and he just couldn't bury them. But I'd rather me striker at least be getting the opportunities.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
I'm not. You know what I mean? Like he will bury some, and we've seen what he can do. He's more than capable striker, but he just needs, like you say, like most of them, he needs a bit of confidence. I think that's what, no goals and four, I think I read yesterday.
Mhm.
So one will come if he keeps getting into those positions. It's just a matter of when.
I did see someone yesterday. I mean, it was a bit of a controversial take. I did see someone yesterday accuse him of being quite lazy. I don't think he is like you say, he's still making the runs, isn't he?
Yeah, he's making the runs and he's closing people down as well. So like you always see him. He's the first one to start that press off. So for me, I don't see him as lazy at all, to be honest with
Nah, we've had some proper lazy strikers over the
you.
years.
Yeah,
Exactly.
He's not one of them. Like,
Who do you think the laziest one is we've ever had?
do you know what?
Hard,
Ellis
isn't
Sims
it?
was bad, you know.
Ellis Sims, aye, yeah.
Ellis Sims was fucking horrendous, you know. Those plays when we got rid of him, to be honest. But there'll be others. There'll definitely be others.
Yeah, I think the thing with Zella Sims though, he did obviously back it up with
Um,
goals occasionally, so I think he gets a bit of a, he gets kind of taken out the
Yep.
equation a bit.
Cameron
But
Jones.
Kenwyne Jones was lazy, aye.
it used to annoy me about Kenwyne Jones. I think he had a really good game. We were playing somebody on Sky, and I think because he had a really good game on Sky, obviously that gets all the pundits like, oh, what a player Kenwyne Jones is. And he was always labelled as like this big imposing threat. And obviously he is, like he's always going to be with the size he is, isn't he? But like, yeah, he always could have done a bit more for me. He used to just like he used to always just jog, didn't he? Just like saunter about.
Mm.
Who
Yeah.
else? There must be someone else.
I know I'm thinking, I was like, surely, like
Like think of the League One strikers that we had. Like Will Grigg, he was lazy for us. I don't know what he was like for other clubs, but for us he was
yeah.
terrible.
Will Greig's probably one of my most disliked Sunderland players, to be honest. Like
Yeah,
just
yeah.
from minute one, like you didn't. I mean, you could put it down and say it's down to the club because like you've signed a player who clearly doesn't want to pay you. But at the end of the day, like you're here, like do a job.
Yeah.
We did have some subs coming on. We had Dennis Serkin back, which was nice to see with his broken wrist. What do we think of him?
Solid. I know we made a joke about it earlier
Anyway,
on, but
get out of town.
but literally, like, I don't think he had much time to affect the game. I thought he defended well.
Guys, class. He's just hopefully gets back into the team on Tuesday and stays fit.
Yelled it.
I mean, he didn't do anything. I think he headed
Yeah, he was just there,
I think
wasn't
he was there for 5 minutes, when he turned up. Good of him.
Just nice to see him. And lastly, Mayendra, I thought he ran well when he came on. Like I thought he ran his socks off.
He did. I like my end. I like that. He's even in the end when people would be saying probably should have taken it to the corner, but I was pleased to see him cut inside and have a go, like
Yeah, same.
score. But there's a proper player there, like.
I am a big fan. Like I say, he's raw and he's direct, isn't he? Like I think if I don't know if you've seen that article where Labrie was on about putting him out wide, and I do think if Paddy doesn't pick up his game or he's inconsistent with it, I think he's going to have a battle on his hands if that's where Labrie wants to put him.
Yeah, you said that. I mean, I'm still yet to see it properly, but you said that the other week, didn't you, Mark? You would like to see a lot more of him out wide.
Yeah, I just think he is direct. He's got really quick feet. I think he'd be a nightmare for a left back, like, and I think he'd score a few goals from there as well. But then again, if Paddy can be a bit more consistent, then there's no need for that. But and overall, I still think we need to strengthen on that right wing, just
Yeah.
as another option. But having said that, whether or not Mundle might take that spot, because you kind of dropped Tommy Watson out of the team, can you?
We'll do some Twitter and Blue Sky questions as well, because we've got quite a few of them. I'll start off with the Twitter ones. Sorry if we don't read yours out, but it just wasn't very good. No, it's just you probably made a point that someone else has already made. Like it's probably just the same question. First question we've got from the Twitter side of things is from Dave W SAFC at SAFC Songs. Do you bring Metham straight back in? And if so, who for? Both Ballard and 09 had a good game today. Also, has everyone thawed out from today's game? Drenched, cold, and nearly blown off the bridge.
So for me, I would drop Ballard out and bring Metham straight back in. That's my view on it. It's, I just don't know how you drop 09. I really don't. The two of them have played pretty much most of the season together, been really solid. So to me, at the moment, they're the main centre back partnership.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's weird because I do think our two best centre backs are Ballard and Metham, but I think our partnership is 09 and Metham.
O9's just better on the pitch for the team in general, I think, as well.
Yeah.
Like you've got that side of it with O9. But like I always, what we've all said it on previous episodes, haven't we? Like you don't change a winning team. But for me, like it's Chris Metham. Do you know what I mean? He's
Yeah.
been head and shoulders above everybody since he's came in. So yeah, I think it's nothing against Ballard or O9. But Chris Metham has to come back in as soon as he can for me. Next one is from Rob Ellison Davidson. At Rob SAFC fan. Another positive performance, but this time we got the result. Conditions were absolutely lifting, so by hook or by crook, we just needed a win, and we did. Get in, Tommy lad. Now on to Bristol and looking to get 6 points from 6 and back on track. I said the other week we'll get 9 points from 9 from yesterday, Bristol City and Swansea. And I think Dan said I sounded like a mag. I don't think that's an impossible ask, you know. I think we should be looking to win all 3 of those games, looking at where the other teams are.
I mean, it just depends on which Sunderland turn up, doesn't it? I mean, I said last week, I genuinely think we're probably the second best team in the league, so I expect us to win, most weeks. But there's obviously a lot more to it than that, isn't it? It's not that easy. But now Bristol City got hammered yesterday, I think, of Pompey, didn't they?
Aye,
So
aye.
they're not firing on all cylinders, and Swansea away is always a tough game for us. I always feel like we
Yeah.
lose one.
It's always like pissing down, and we always lose like 1-0. Jordan Ayew always seems to score still. Somehow he doesn't even play for them.
I think just for me on that point, like of the agreement of Mark as well, for what he's been saying over the past couple of weeks. Like we're going to come up against somebody in the next two games, I would say, and we are going to absolutely trounce them. We're going to pit them for 6 or 7. I really think like somebody's coming in for a beating soon.
Tell you what, right? I hope you're right, but if we beat someone by 6 or 7, the next night out we have, I'll buy you drinks.
Fair.
Putting it out there. Deal.
Remember that shot you bought us, like
That shot that spoiled the night. I do, aye.
the first 4 rounds we always had to buy a shot each, and you bought that. To this day, I don't know what it was. I'm sure it was fucking white spirit or something.
I don't, to be honest.
Absolutely horrific.
I went to the bar and just says like, "What's the worst shot you do?" And he didn't even answer me question. He just gave us a smile, rubbed his hands together, and just started pouring stuff. And I was like, "Oh god, here we go." And he actually wouldn't. There was 4 of us. There was me, you. It was us 3 and Dan out. And he wasn't going to serve us 4 because he was like, "You can't drink 4 of them." I was like, "Oh, they're not all for me." And he wouldn't give us the tray. He actually came over just to make sure I was giving the shots to other people and wasn't going to drink them all myself. So it must have been bad, like. Next question is from Michael Bowers at Michael Bowers 15. How critical is it to stay in the mix until January, and how massive is January?
I mean, I said that last week, didn't I? I sort of changed my way of thinking in terms of it's like halfway through the season, so it's 2 halves now. But just stay in touch for me until the end of December, because we've got players coming back, and I know everyone's going to pin the hopes probably on signing players in January, but just as important for me is getting the injured players back. Obviously, Ballard's back now, Certain's back now, and we've got to get the new lads in and hopefully have a bit of cover in midfield. Get Mundell and Brown back as well, and we've got a pretty strong squad there. A strong squad of players that are just improving because they're young lads. So add a little bit of quality to that in January. Then as I said last week, I think we're taking the beat in the second half of the season.
I don't think you need much in January, to be honest with you. Like I think you need maybe cover for right wing because Perfeda's just a walking sick note. And I think possibly somebody who can play at right back because I don't particularly like O9 being out there. But other than that, I don't think there's too much to do. Like you say, with the guys coming back, I think we will have a pretty bloated squad if you sign any more than that.
I think the onus, if we do strengthen in January, I think it's going to be, although I think we do need full back cover. I think it is going to be more in the attacking areas, like because I think in the last week, I think Lebreeze came out and said I think it'll be strikers and attacking players if they go for anybody. And then I did read something the other day. Again, you don't know how true it is, and he might just be saying what he thinks the fans want to hear. But that Dave Jones on Sky, who, what even role does he have here? He's like a non-executive director or something.
Something like that, yeah.
But he was saying, he was like, I'm constantly in Speakman's ear and Kirill's ear, saying they need to look at what Ipswich did last year, where they were already flying, but they just went and got like attacking reinforcements, and obviously went on to win a lot of games in the last minute yesterday. Went to win a lot of games in the last minute last season, simply because of the strength of the reinforcements they could bring off the bench. So yeah, I think if we're going to do anything, I think that's where we need to strengthen. Like,
Yeah, definitely.
next up, we've got Ian Banks at Monkey's Gob. I like that one. It's practical as that. A deserved win in difficult conditions, but we squandered a lot of chances that should have been made much more comfortable. We need to work on our finishing.
That's probably fair. I mean, like I said, we should have been 5-1 up at half time, really, shouldn't we? We did squander some chances, but at the same time, we're making them, and on another day they go in. So it feels a bit easy when we win the game, doesn't it? But yeah, I mean, as long as we're creating them, one or two of them are going to go in, and yeah, on another day, like I say, it would have been a heavy win, that one.
Okay, next question we've got from D at Dr_SAFC. He just asks very simply, Elise or Serkin? It's got to be Serkin for me. Like,
Definitely second.
Elise, obviously, hasn't put a foot wrong since he's been in, but as I've said on previous podcasts, he's not a full-time fullback, and Serkin, unquestionably, when he's fit, is the best fullback in the league. So yeah, there's only one winner there for us. Like, next is Dale Robson at Dale JB SAFC. Do you think Patrick Roberts answered some of his critics yesterday? He looked really dangerous on the ball and went both inside and out, given the fullback a torrid time. I think you said that was the big change yesterday, wasn't it? He wasn't just kind of cutting in. It was all about getting to the byline as well.
Yeah, I mean, the thing with Paddy is, like, we know he's capable of doing that in sort of any given game. The challenge for Paddy and my criticism of he just doesn't do it consistently enough. So, if he drops off next game, or if he goes another 3 or 4 games without an assist or a goal, then I'll sort of be back on his back, really, because we need more from him. But I hope that is a change, and I hope he goes on a class run. I'm a big fan of him.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah,
we'll see how it goes over the next few games, really.
Yeah, like I say, it's all well and good doing it, one in every 4 games, but we do need more consistency from him. Andy at Andy_B asks something that I think you alluded to earlier on, Mark. Mundell back in when fit, or stick with Watson, or both in and out? Like you said earlier on, you kind of drop Tommy Watson at the minute, can you?
No, he doesn't come out the team until he has a bad game now. I think he's got that spot. It's unfortunate for Mundell, but yeah, I mean, how do you drop Tommy Watson? You just can't.
Next up, we've got Andrew Verdian at Admiral's Court. Dan Neil looked back at it today. First time I've seen Alessi struggle like that. I wouldn't say he struggled. Like I say, we probably blame him for the goal. But I thought other than that, he was pretty solid. Like Lee said, he was a big help to Tommy Watson. So yeah, I don't think he struggled. Like,
No, I mean, is there a question in there or not?
I did not.
I agree with you,
Next, we've got Josh Hutchinson at Josh Hutchinson 7. Is Tommy Watson's ceiling higher than Jack Clark, or are we getting carried away?
So I think it is, and the reason I say that is he's scoring goals at a higher level at a younger age, and I just think like he is like Jack Clark. But I think there's a bit of Jack Grealish in him as well.
Yeah.
So he's slightly different to Clark, but obviously he knows how to score, and Jack Clark it took me a little while to get his numbers up, and I think Watson's doing that younger at a high level as well. Because obviously it's Championship compared to League One when we had Jack Clark. So yeah, I mean he's got a lot of work to do. Don't get us wrong, we're not get carried away, but I think that there's a proper player there, and he's clearly been watching my videos from Easington Comp playing up there wing, hasn't he? So.
But I think with Tommy Watson, on the one hand, yes, it's 2 games. So on that side, you kind of think you don't want to kind of overdo it, because he might have 3 or 4 stinkers in the next couple of weeks. But as you've said there, Mark, he's doing it at a much younger age, in a much higher league. And I always think what was really telling is earlier in the season when Mundell was doing it, and I think someone asked a similar question about Mundell, like, is his ceiling higher than Jack Clark's? And we kind of said there, it is, if you take into account the fact that Spurs got rid of Jack Clark because they saw Mundell coming through. And I think it's kind of similar with us in the sense that we were always aware of Tommy Watson while we had Jack Clark. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't like, oh, we've had to like pluck him out of nowhere because because Jack Clark's gone, we need a replacement. It was always like, yeah, he's there, he's ready for like when Jack Clark does go. So that to me shows that he's always had it in him to do what he's doing now.
Yeah, I think for me as well, I thought this would be his season anyway, because I thought Mundell was going to play on the right hand side. But I was surprised when they moved Mundell over to the left. I mean, don't get us wrong, it's the right thing to do. So he's done really well there. But I always sort of thought Tommy Watson was naturally going to take Jack Clark's place anyway until they moved Mundell over on the left. But at the end of the day, we've got some like it's absolutely hellish to be sitting there talking about exciting young players in it. It's at Sunderland. It's like it's unbelievable. We've never had it. I better from is it? But it's just nuts. It's nuts. It's like it's a mint time to be a supporter. Like we should be properly enjoying these times because like we've never had so many good young players who want to play for the club and really want to, absolutely grind it out and graft for us and it's mint.
I know nostalgia makes everything seem better, but do you think like if we look back on this in like maybe 10, 15 years, we'll look back on this period where we had like Rigg, Watson, Clark, Mundell, Dan Neil. Do you think we'll look at it in the same way as when we had like Johnson and Summerby and like Lee Clark was doing it for us and that? Do you think it'll be that same sort of thing? Or do you think it all hinders on if they're good enough to get promoted?
It's a good question. That it's a bit of both because I was actually thinking about this the other day. Like I haven't enjoyed watching Sunderland or like being as excited about them since the Peter Reid days when we had all the things you just mentioned there. But we do need to see something off the bat of it. I think we do need a promotion. I think. And what's going to be good though, and I think the difference is we're going to see these players move on to like top clubs and play Champions League football and all that sort of thing. And obviously, I hope we in time get to that level, of course. But the reality is that they're going to be able to watch these players for a number of years, like we did with Jordan Henderson. So that sort of feeling where he's Champions League winning captain, Premier League winning captain, and obviously played loads of times for England. So even that element of it's going to be quite nice as well, I think.
Yeah, that's true. I think, as you say, the reason that squad probably is looked upon so highly is the fact that they walk the league basically. But I keep seeing like kind of comparisons between like points totals, and I'm sure we've got the same, if not maybe 1 or 2 points less than the amount we had at this stage when we went up with 105 points, which is mad because like when I think back to that time, it's like we seem to be like top of the league from like the 4th game in and we just stayed there. But it's weird to think now we're only like 4th in the league.
I know. Do you know what I was being meant to do actually? I've been meant to have a look and compare the points for the top 2 last season because obviously Leicester and Ipswich sort of flew out of the blocks and they were miles ahead, weren't they? So I was wondering how many points they had at this stage last season to compare it to the league this year.
Yeah, it's pretty similar. I saw something, not for us, but I saw it was a Leeds fan because like they're, even though they're like second in the league, top of the league, whatever they are, they're obviously there's still a bit of resentment towards Daniel Farke and his football, and they did like this season to last season comparison, and I think they've got a point more than they did this time last season, and yet this time last season they were like 5th, and now they're like 2nd in the league. So I think we are all being helped by the fact that there isn't an Ipswich and there isn't a Leicester. Because like they were just freakish last season. Do you know what I mean? And it's probably a good thing that we don't really have that.
No, definitely.
Last, it's not a question, but I'm just going to read it. It's from Tony Bang at Tony_Young78. Is Tommy Watson now ahead of Mundell? And I'm only reading it because he's ended it by saying Easington forever, Tommy Watson, mega, making Easington great again. Which, if we're not doing that by producing this podcast, Tommy Watson definitely is. So over to the blue sky questions now. Portugal Mackham at B Sky Social says a key win to give us momentum Now the suspension tightrope is out the way, Job can now kick on again, literally. When he's playing without restrictions, we're a different side. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he had a bad game yesterday. You could say he was standing off a little bit more, though. He was being a little bit more cautious with his tackles. But I don't think it was a bad thing. I don't think we suffered because of that. But I mean, he's just a top player, and he's the main man in the midfield for us. So plays his part, and I just keep him on the pitch.
What's next then? On to Tuesday and Bristol City at the Sol before a trip to Swansea at the weekend. What are you expecting from those two games, Mark? I must say that Swansea trip, you've said earlier, like it's an awful trip to make, especially this close to Christmas as well. But how would you see us getting on in those next two games?
I mean, I fully expect us to beat Bristol City and beat them pretty well. The Swansea game's a banana skin. I think it could go anywhere the Swansea game, but as long as we win Tuesday night, it just takes the pressure off a little bit. We'll see how the other teams do as well. I'm sure a couple of them have got like hard games, like sort of playoff contenders as well. So they might drop points, but yeah, we'll win on Tuesday hopefully, and then see how Saturday goes. It could go anywhere.
Yeah, that's fair. Like I say, I'm looking at 6 points out of those two. Like, 'cause I just think it would be such a shame after finally getting that win again yesterday to just follow up with another draw. Kind of kills the momentum stone dead again, and you're asking the same questions as you were sort of last week. So yeah, it's vital that we do keep it up. But I do think that pretty much covers it. If you're wondering where Lee's gone, by the way, he just suddenly went silent. So I could only assume that he's been euthanized. Thanks as always for your questions. Sorry we couldn't get through them all, but there was a lot. We do really appreciate listening to us. What would be lovely though, like really Christmassy and that, is if you'd leave us a 5-star review. Even if you think we're not really that good, just like leave us one anyway for a daft laugh. You can follow us on Twitter at SensibleSAFC or by searching Sensible Sunderland on Facebook and Sky Social at safc.bsky.social. We'll speak to you next week. We'll probably cover the Bristol City and Swansea games in one podcast because we're lazy like that. Dan might be back. Who knows? We'll see if any more evidence is brought forward by the prosecution. Thanks for joining. I'm off to get some paracetamol and rethink my life. See you later.
See you later.
I don't know where my head lies. It's all alone. He scored! Sensation! When we'll be there, I don't know. When we'll get there, I ain't certain. All always I am on my way. I'm a dream boy, up home. Hitch a wagon, come along. Where I'm going, I don't know. When we'll be there, I ain't certain. What will I get? I ain't the quick to say. Hey, but who gives a damn where on our way?
Deep one again. Watson is right in there. So to it, and Porterfield! Oh, Porterfield has scored!